Special good morning to our listeners, those of you via Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Good Thursday morning. Those of you viewing via GBN TV, channels 7, 11, or channels 20, good morning. Welcome. What about our social media audience? We don't have the Facebook with us this morning, but we do have those of you who are viewing via YouTube channels, good morning and welcome. As usual, we do entertain various departments within the Royal Grenada Police Force on a Thursday, and this morning we do have the Special Victim Unit with us this morning, and we do have with us we have a woman detective constable, that's Kizian Francis. Hope you're getting your first name right. We also have detective, is it Kizian, right?
Yeah,
Kizian Francis. I got that right. We have the detective constable, we have Damien Francis with us this morning. Let me say good morning to both of you and welcome to this edition of To The Point. Good Thursday morning to you both.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Let's have you. And our topic of conversation this morning, we're talking domestic violence. And it's a topic that could be a little bit touchy sometimes, if we could put it in the simple terms of saying it. Because, we know there are a lot of folks who are listening, even viewing this morning, and are probably going through some issue in their lives when it comes to domestic violence. Sometimes it becomes a way that individuals not even want to talk about it for some reason or the other, So we this morning, the officer is going to speak on it. And you probably will be going through something in your life, and you probably thought, well, maybe there's no help or no assistance available there, but there is. There's some help and assistance. So we're probably going to talk about that a whole lot this morning. As I usually do, I always give the officer the option of any opening comments. Anyone of you want to share opening comments before we get into the source of the conversation this morning?
So the Special Victims Unit is a subunit of the Criminal Investigations Department, by extension the Royal Grenada Police Force. So the unit was established mainly to assist in persons that are victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, and child abuse. Right. That was the main reason why the unit was formed. So we have a lot of persons coming in relation to domestic reports.
All right.
It could be either against their spouse or somebody that they were in a relationship with. So we do have a lot of complaints.
All right.
And we do assist victims with the application for a protection order. So they could come to the unit and we could assist them in filling out the application form for a protection order, but they do have to go through the different steps in order for them to get an order done, granted by the court.
All right.
Yes.
Any opening comments from you?
Yes, just to add with Ms. Francis, the hotline number for the Special Victims Unit is very easy. We go to the different schools and we educate the children by just through poetry, through drama, and when we reach to the point where we bring it across the hotline number, we'll ask the question: if you want to be a hero, all you gotta do is call 400. So of course the hotline number is 400, and we do work along with different entities. We work along with Child Protection Authority, Ministry of Social Development, and so on.
If off the bat I could ask a question for folks, what is domestic violence from the Special Victim Unit? How would you want to explain that?
Okay. So the Domestic Violence Act number 19 of 2010, it defines domestic violence as any controlling or abusive behavior that harms the health, safety, or well-being of a person, any child, and includes but is not limited to the following: physical abuse or threats of physical abuse, sexual abuse or threats of sexual abuse, emotional, verbal, or psychological abuse, economic abuse, intimidation, harassment, stalking, damage or destruction of property, entry into the applicant's residence without consent where the parties no longer share the same residence. When I say applicant, An applicant is somebody who applies for a protection order.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So it means I'm experienced some of the whatever you have mentioned a while ago, and it's physical, emotional. You give a whole lot of it.
Yes.
And where do I go from there? From after I have experienced it, where does the special victim units come into play from there? After the experience.
So most times persons come to the unit and they may come in and say that they need assistance.
Yes.
On hearing their complaint, you could clearly from outline you see that they are a victim of domestic violence. So we engage them, we inform them of their rights. The rights of a person who is experiencing domestic violence. Later on, Officer Frank going to go through the rights. There are about 10 of them. So we ask them if they want to take out a protection order, explaining it to them. Some might say they go think about it, kind of reluctant. We still reassure them that think about it. If ever you need assistance, you could always return to us so we could assist you. There are others might say off the bat, yes, officer, I want a protection order.
But does a protection order is the only level you move from after the complaint has been made? And is it just a protection order that could be from the special victim? That's the only thing that could be offered at that stage?
No, it's not. So there are offenses that can occur from domestic violence. Sometimes harm could be done to an individual. Sometimes a sexual offense could be committed. So the person could also give a complaint against that individual for maybe causing harm or maybe rape or somebody assaulting them sexually.
All right.
So you could give a complaint in relation to that also. So we do take statements, and sometimes we do the protection order, and then there's a matter like causing harm, which goes to court also.
All right.
Yes.
You did say there, of course, Detective Constable is going to explain some of the I missed in terms of what you said, some of the
rights
of the victims. So let's say the rights. I experienced domestic violence, the different domestic violence I may experience. What is my right now as a victim? What are some of my rights?
So each victim has rights, as Miss Francis would have just informed us, and it is the duty of the police, us at the Special Victims Unit or any police station, to inform the victims of their right. And we have 10 rights. They have 10 rights, and I'm just going to go through them briefly, but I'll start with number 1. A police officer at the scene of an incident of a domestic violence, or when the incident of domestic violence is reported, should inform the victim of his or her rights and provide the victims with a printed copy of the information relating to the rights. So we don't just inform the victim of the rights, but they will be served with a copy.
All right.
So they themselves can
brief themselves and
understand it. If they don't understand, we will explain it to them, of course.
All right.
Right. So the first one reads, you have the right to request the assistance of a member of the Royal Grenada Police Force in order to protect yourself and your children, and the member is obliged to provide you with information on how to obtain a protection order.
Okay.
Number 2, you may also request police assistance in locating and taking you and your children to a place of safety, including a shelter, the home of a family member or friend, or any other place of safety. 3, if you or your children are in need of medical treatment, you have the right to request a member of the Royal Grenada Police Force to assist you in obtaining such medical treatment.
All right.
A protection order can be obtained from the court at any time of the day or night and will be served on your abuser free of charge. There is no cost to it.
All right.
5, you may request that your address not be disclosed to your abuser. Of course, that's where confidentiality
I guess that is only obvious.
And
you will not want individual to know where you're at.
Definitely.
After you read that report.
The respondent can be ordered to pay the emergency monetary relief and any or all contact with you or your children may be prohibited. And the respondent there is the person who the order will be served on.
Okay.
So if you're in a scenario where you guys live together, you might be renting, you may not be working, and you might say, well, how is it, am I going to live now when they take him out from the house or so? You can ask the magistrate that he pay the rent while you remain in
And
the
I guess
house,
whatever necessary cost that will occur in his absence.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
You may also request the court to evict the respondent or prohibit the respondent from preventing you to enter the shared household. This order is of a temporary nature, and if you wish to be confirmed, you will be required to appear in court at a later date. Now, let me just explain this a bit. So, the person comes into the Special Victims Unit. We have them, we assist them with the protection order. They are applying for the protection order. So the process in St. George's is that you go to the registry, you pay for the stamp, then afterwards you go to the magistrate court, you will see the magistrate, state your case, right? And you'll come back with the copy of that interim order.
All
right? When you come back with the copy of that interim order, on that document, the magistrate is going to inform you as to the date when you should return to court for that order to be made final.
Okay.
Right? And once that order is served on the respondent, then both parties will go to court and the magistrate will listen, the both parties will state the case, and that's where the interim order is now deemed as a final protection order.
How long is the interim order?
It's for maximum 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
That's when it becomes final.
That's when it becomes final.
Yes.
Because you did mention the temporary in part of the statement you were reading. So I was wondering what the temporary is. It temporary a month, 2 months?
Right. So the temporary that's the interim order. So that's when the process of filing for the protection order.
The process starts. So they give you a so the individual cannot be around for a temporary period of time.
Yes.
Yes.
Until a final order is made and the conditions are laid. During that time, the process, you might get 2 court dates to appear before the final order is granted. They might change some of the conditions to the order based on what transpired in the court. But the final order, the maximum you could get is 3 years. Sometimes, based on the circumstances, the magistrate might give a final order of 6 months, 1 year, based on what?
Based on the circumstances.
But the maximum is 3 years.
Okay.
And then the question is asked to the applicant by the magistrate, how long would you like that protection order to be granted? Right?
So suppose you decide I want it indefinite. Could that be granted? I no longer want an individual rugby period.
Indefinite
is not always.
Sometimes you get a protection order for 3 years. The respondent might just abide by it, but they check in also the timing.
Because I asked that because you said 3 years, but then after you said when the applicant could actually ask the magistrate for a period of time. That's why I asked the question in terms if you said you wanted it.
Sometimes somebody might get an order for 3 years, but it expire. The 3 years expire, and the person start back committing acts of domestic violence. They have to go and also go through the same process again.
Reapply again.
So there's no indefinite or infinity, or you just have to stay away from it forever.
Yes. All right, that's understandable.
Right. And let me just bring that next point across in terms of the final date or the interim order becoming final. Now the respondent must be served before that order becomes final, right? Okay. So without the respondent being served, then if the court date has passed, then we will have to make sure that the respondent is served before the
date for the code. The appearing code. Okay, understandable, sir.
And I'll just continue with the rights. I'm on number 8. If you and your children require any counseling or support, you should contact the Ministry of Social Development or for Children Child Protection Authority. They are the ones responsible solely for counseling sessions and so. Number 9, you also have the right to lodge a criminal complaint against the abuser. If a criminal offense has been committed against yourself and your children, you may do this now or at any time in the future. And as Ms. Francis, you asked the question, if the person just come to the Special Victims Unit and then they're issued with or assisted with a protection order. But as I would have said earlier, domestic violence itself is not an offense, right? Where we have the offense is when the criminal act has been done, and once that abuser has committed an offense, then the police will come in, right? So you can give a statement, an investigation will be launched, and the person, the respondent, will be charged criminally for criminal offenses, whatever it may be, whether it be causing harm, damage to property, rape, or so. And it also says in the document here that you may do this now or at any time in the future, but I want to bring to the attention of public that they are criminal offenses that have statute of limitation.
Yes.
So bearing in mind, if you have damage to property, which is 6 months, you must report that matter within the 6 months. Causing harm, which is 3 months, you must report the matter within 3 months. However, rape is no statute of limitation. So that person can come in and report the rape session whenever they feel like speaking, they feel they're ready to speak about it, because we know that that can have some psychological damage on that person.
Okay. I have a question in terms of what you said, just like for a matter of clarification. You said domestic violence is not a criminal act. All right.
Domestic violence, yes.
By itself is not.
No.
It's not.
No.
It's only when a particular act is committed.
Yes, when the criminal act
that can happen.
Okay.
By a person.
So, for instance, that we in layman terms, an individual is a boyfriend is beating his girlfriend,
intimidation and harassment and stalking.
Yes.
That's not really an offense. But as it relates to physical abuse, there are a lot of criminal offenses that can occur there.
So when the process becomes violent in terms of the offense becomes physical, that's when that's
an
when
offense has been committed.
But if somebody if a guy and a
because
girl,
I could come in and say, well, my boyfriend keeps calling me names, but he never hit me. I have no marks on my body, but I'm a victim of domestic violence. So it don't necessarily have to be physical.
Okay, that's understandable.
Yes.
That's understandable from that point.
Let me just add to what Ms. Francis said. The domestic violence is with persons with intimate partners and family members on who. So a brother against a brother, mother against son, uncle against nephew, or so, right? But for, let me say, I'll look at economical abuse, right? And economical abuse there will not be a criminal offense being committed there. But you might have, or you might be married to someone, right? And whenever you get paid month end, why if you decide, watch now, you bring that paycheck to me. And I decide what you spend, what you save. I decide whatever you do with it. I is the one that calling the shots.
Makes that decision.
Right.
So that is a form of domestic. That's a form of domestic violence.
And that's economical abuse.
Okay.
Right. So there we will see that domestic violence is happening within the home, but yet a criminal offense has not been happening.
Interesting. I mean, I want to ask a question in terms of the stages that individuals go through. So. You assume, and you said most of the acts may not be considered a criminal act unless it becomes physical. You understand? By someone saying that. So the stages. Well, how do the different stages go through before the Special Victim Unit gets involved?
repeat for me.
I was asking the stages that an individual has to go through. Is it just that my spouse or whoever is being abusive in some way, maybe it's physical or just emotional, as you mentioned, but then I want to come to the special victim unit. What are the stages do I go through from here, from that stage?
Well, most of our persons that come into the unit, they just come in, they hear about the unit, they might have heard it from a friend that went through the process as to get a protection order, or who maybe came to us for assistance. So they'll just come in and they'll say, well, I come to get a protection order, or I'm going through some problems at home and he's hitting me, or he's calling me name, officer, I want to leave the relationship. We done, but he always coming in my place and whatnot. So we take the complaint, we sit and discuss with them. We also give them the rights, read it out to them so they understand. We also inform them that we could assist them in getting a protection order. Mind you, not everybody that comes to the unit wants to get a protection order. Sometimes they might want you to issue the respondent a warning. Or ask them to stay away.
Just talk to them for me and stuff like that. Do you get involved at that level?
Well, it's what they request. Sometimes we pull in the persons and speak to them, issue them the warning in the instance where maybe they might have used some threatening language, obscene language, or might have trespassed onto the person's property. We do pull them in, take statements, and do issue them the warning.
Okay. We drew for a break. Let's take it, then we come back with your chat some more. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, 24th, here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. We coming right back after the break. Stay with us, folks.
TVET is the TVET is the future of the nation. That's technical and vocational education and training that helps you to acquire knowledge, positive attitude and skills, and CVQ certification in traditional and non-traditional job areas such as printing and graphic arts, musical performance, massage therapy, agri-food processing, fish handling and processing, live sound engineering, events management, geriatric care, and several other exciting occupational areas. TVET prepares you for work in Grenada, the CARICOM region, and beyond. Call the National Training Agency for more information. Phone 435-9092-9093.
Who are we? National Training Agency.
Enhancing the employability of Grenada's workforce.
Carelessly, I was tossed out. I was considered trash. And many thought that's all I'd ever be. Some told me to give up, go back to the landfill, so that I could take 450 years to decompose. No, I dream of a different life, of being part of something better, stronger, and more purposeful.
If given a chance, your plastic would choose to be put to more beneficial use. Choose recycling.
Yes, I want to say welcome back to our listeners and viewers. To the point for today, Thursday, the 24th of August. We have the Special Victim Unit with us this morning from the Royal Grenada Police Force, and we're talking domestic violence. And in our previous segment, we spoke a lot in terms of the victim and their rights and so forth. We want to talk though about the protection order. I'm assuming there are listeners and viewers out there who may be saying, well, the protection order, you know, what is a protection order and what does it really entail?
All right, so a protection order, or it refers to a restraining order, is an order used by the court to protect persons who are victims of domestic violence.
All right.
Right? And let me just say this, that you may apply for a protection order or a restraining order, and we as the police may go to the respondent to serve them that order, and for some reason they may say that I'm not accepting that order. No, this is not just document that comes from the police, but it's an order from the magistrate, right? And just refusing it, you can land yourself in prison.
Okay.
Right? So it continues here saying that a person may be entitled to apply for a protection order on the grounds that the respondent, which is the accused, engage in domestic violence. Right? So he didn't say economical abuse or so.
Just domestic violence is
Broad.
on the broad benefit. Okay.
Right? The spouse of the respondent, right, the accused, a member of a shared household, either his or her own behalf or on the behalf of any member of the shared household, a child, a dependent, a parent or sibling by blood or marriage to either the spouse or the accused not being a member of the shared household, a person who has a child in common with the respondent, who is the perpetrator, right? A person who was engaged, dating, or has been in a visiting relationship with a person of the opposite sex, which includes but is not limited to an actual, perceived, romantic, intimate, or sexual relationship of any duration.
All right.
Right? So this is just saying that at the end of the day, you might see Officer Francis walking on the road looking all nice, and you might approach her, right? You guys may start chatting and exchange of numbers, right? To you, that goes on for maybe a month or a few weeks. To you, you may think Officer Francis is your lady, but to Officer Francis, you're just a friend, right? And then you might do something that falls under the umbrella of domestic violence or domestic dispute. And Officer Francis now can come to the Special Victims Unit or any police station and have a protection order filed against you, whether it be intimidation or maybe stalking her or harassment.
All
right? Because you may take it to a level that she does not like.
All right.
And to yourself, but you say, no, I mean, come on, you're my lady. Officer Francis don't think so. All right, so there is different steps within the country that different courts and may have the different procedures, but in St. George's, where you come to the Special Victims Unit, you go to the registry, you go to the courthouse, take back the order to us, and I'll just let Miss Francis go through with some of the steps and get any protection order or restraining order.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so the steps may vary from magisterial districts. For the town of St. George, you could go to the court and get assistance to do up the forms, or you could come to the Special Victims Unit. From there, you'll have to go to the registry, where you have to go before the registrar. She'll speak to you. Sometimes she might ask for ID to prove that you are the persons that she's seen with, and she'll sign and you sign as to what you said are the grounds for you getting a protection, and if they're true.
Okay.
So you'll take an oath before her. From there, she'll apply the stamps and you sign and she sign, and then from there you go to the magistrate court, where you have to go before the magistrate on hearing your what happening to you or what has been going on. She or he may decide that's sufficient grounds to get an order. Mind you, there are grounds where the magistrate might say she don't think that you fall in the bracket of getting an order. A protection order done. In the outer districts like Grenville, St. Andrews, you go directly to the court.
Okay.
At Guave, you do the same. You go directly to the court. But if you're unsure, you could call the court or call the police station for directions. Instead of you going and then you have to go back somewhere else to get assistance. You go to the station, they tell you no, you should go to the court. But you can make a call prior to that to find out exactly where you have to go.
All right.
So you'll be assisted in doing the application forms. Once the order is granted by the magistrate, you'll receive the copies which have the next court date. So the order could be solved either by the court. The court might say, I could solve the order, or you want the police to solve the order and the respondents. So you have to decide.
Well, you have that option.
Yeah, option.
Yes. Okay.
So if you say, well, I want the police to solve the order, you have to return to this police station with the copies, because there is a copy for the respondent as outlined what you said are the grounds that you want the order. So he has to see or be in the know as to what you said. So preparing him for his next court date, because on the next court date they hear from both parties.
Like they see the individual to know
Yes,
what the order is solving them for.
Yes. So once the station solves the order, you'll be notified that the order has been solved and is in effect. There are circumstances where the person, it might be difficult to solve the person, and the court matter is coming, the date is coming up soon. You as the applicant should go to the first hearing.
Yes.
Even though the respondent might not be there, or because they don't know that there's an order out against them, you go to the first hearing, you'll be given an additional date. You get a new document with a new date as to when you should come back. You visit the station again with the new date, so that the officers could use that new document to solve on the person, because the old date has expired.
All right. Well,
And applicants, you need to have interest into your protection order. Right? Some people might come and they don't go into the hearings. I don't know if they make back or they decide they don't want it anymore.
all right. No, I want to ask a question before we proceed. Is there an investigative procedure when someone makes a complaint?
Yes, there is.
There is.
So I mean, as a police, as a special victim unit, someone come and complains that I'm going through some domestic violence. Do you investigate it before you decide? Well, I'm going to have that protective order, you know?
Well, it's not our decision as to, we help with the application, but it's not on us as to if the person will be granted an order. It's based on the court or the magistrate.
You know, I'm just saying to confirm that the individual, whatever the individual is saying. Okay, I'm being abused for whatever reason. Is there part that where the police comes in and say, well, let me investigate that incident that's been done? Is there a procedure for that takes place?
Well, if I understand what you're saying is that an investigation will not be launched in terms of the issuing of the protection order. Right? An investigation will be only launched in terms of the criminal activities or the
and
criminal.
if the person wants court action.
Offense that happened.
But that's where I'm coming from. Because you know, sometimes to proceed even with a court order, some sort of evidence must be gathered, right?
Yes, right. So that's why the magistrate will give the person an interim order with a date to return to court. So both persons will state the case before the magistrate, and the magistrate, within her wisdom, will grant the order or see if they don't have sufficient evidence.
That's understandable. So I just wanted a little bit of clarification, because someone will say, well, an individual come and complain, and you know, as a police, you will want to know, is that person saying something that is truthful against that individual? So that's why
us to determine.
But again, Miss Francis would have enlightened us, is that person, that applicant, they have to swear in, they have an oath. And of course, persons giving the police a false statement or so can be arrested and charged for doing that. But as I said earlier, the whole issue of that protection order being made final is not deemed up to the police officer. Investigation is not launched in that aspect, but in the aspect of where the criminal activities or the criminal offenses that has been happening.
Interesting to know that. We move on. Anything further you want to state before we move on?
There's one more thing. Basically, there are some applicants that go ahead and take out a protection order against someone. But during that time, the order is in effect, and they'll assist or abet that respondent in breaching the order. So let's say me and Officer Frank in a relationship. I go ahead and get an order. We went through the process. The order is finalized for 3 years. But during that 3 years, me and Officer Frank
Besides, let's fix things up.
fix things up. The order is still in effect, but he come back home. We have a little falling out, and I come and make a report that he breached the order. All along, I welcome him back into the household. I know the terms and conditions of the order that he's not supposed to be in the house. So there are situations that the applicants themselves assist the respondent in breaching the said
What are
order.
the consequences for breaching an order?
Right. And if I may, before I answer that, if I may butt in here, now my advice to the respondents, I stand on the ground of correction, but I don't think there are any offense or any punishment for the applicant in that regards.
In terms of
entertain the respondent in terms of
so
coming back
no
and
offense has been
breaching the
committed
order
there
by the applicant. The offense, however, will be committed by the respondent because the order is against him. So one must be wise. Right?
So you could fix things up, but there's still that charge that could be against you, then individual
what
still.
you should do is maybe ask the applicant to go back to the magistrate, right, and speak to the magistrate, right, to have that protection order cancelled
for you,
right, for you, because once you go there, you breach the order.
All right. So before you answer my question, another question comes to mind. I went and asked the court to maybe cancel the order, and for some reason, an offense is committed again. Could I repeat the have the order reenacted some way or the other?
Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
Okay, let's say for instance, I've had the order cancelled,
Yes.
but myself and the person or the perpetrator will forcefully reestablish a relationship.
And it happens
It happens again.
Yes.
Could I now have that order reenacted again?
Yes.
You'll have to get a new order. So you have to go through the process over
You have
again.
to go through the process, but it
over
will
again.
not deny you, or the magistrate will not deny you
Because
from
you
granting
had
you a
one
protection.
previously.
And you cancel it.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. We drew for a break. We're coming back. Let's take that break, folks. We're coming right back. And we also will invite you, listeners and viewers out there, if you do have a question or two you would like to ask, please free to do so. 435-2041. We're coming right back after the break. Stay with us.
The Ministry of Tourism and Economic Development and the Grenada Tourism Authority extend a warm welcome to visitors and returning nationals visiting for Carnival and summer vacation. We do hope you enjoy your stay with us, and we invite you to return with friends and family to celebrate our 50th anniversary of independence on 7th February 2024. Tourism is my business, your business, our business.
The NLA is giving you more chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more, or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more with Multi-X added to Playway, and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Do you have an idea for a training program that can lead to the development of economic activity in your community? Then call the National Training Agency. The NTA will help you identify trainers and will also assist you to develop and implement training programs. So whether it's community tourism, straw craft production, small engine repairs, agri-food processing, agriculture, or any other vocational or creative industry skill, call the National Training Agency to help you implement your community-based training. Call 435-9092-9093.
National Training Agency.
Enhancing the employability of Grenada's workforce.
Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to The Point for today, Thursday, the 24th of August. We have the Special Victim Unit with us this morning, and we're talking domestic violence. Now, before the break, I did ask a question, the consequences of someone breaching, a protection order. Tell us about the consequences that an individual could go through, by breaching that order.
Okay, so consequences to someone who breaches a protection order. So there are two ways that somebody could breach the order. That means that they will solve the document, they understand the terms and conditions of the document, but they refuse to abide by the order. So the order might say that you're not supposed to enter the shared household, and you just
continue,
come
and you just
and
you can go back when you want.
Come there. You enter the premises or enter the home. One could also breach an order if they commit a criminal offense against the applicant.
All right.
So maybe the order is in effect. You might see me walking the road and you pull me, or you give me 2 slaps in my face, which amounts to harm.
And
Yes.
if I may just interject here, as simple as just as an obscene language or a threatening language, well, a
it's a
threatening
criminal
language is
offense.
serious, but as simple as an obscene language, you
It's
might
an
see the
offense.
person walking and you might just feel alright. You could
To
choose
utter
some
some
words or
words.
utter some words at them.
When you breach that, what are some of the circumstances that you could go through for that? Could be arrested and stuff like that?
Well, of course, arrested. You will be arrested.
You'll be arrested for breaching the protection order, and if the individual wants to go through with the threatening language, the
So
charge for
charges
charging
also-
the person for using threatening language, they could also do that.
All right.
Yes.
Interesting to know that. All right, let's entertain some calls. Anything further you want to stand up here
Yes.
entertain some calls? Go right
Just
ahead.
let me
There are
just-
some stiff penalties
All right, let's
to
go. Let's
someone breaching
entertain
a
that.
protection order. So on the first summary conviction, that says the very first time you ever breach a protection order that's been taken out against you. So you could be fined not exceeding $5,000 or imprisonment not exceeding 18 months.
Okay. So that fine and confined at the same time, or fine and or
Fine or
confined,
imprisonment on the
Okay.
first conviction.
Okay.
On the second conviction, you'll be given a fine not exceeding $10,000 or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, or both.
Or both.
So sometimes
That's
they
where you
could
have
fine you and then you
a
still
confine.
You get the
have
option
to
of
go
going
to
to jail also.
prison.
All right.
Yes.
Mhm.
On any other subsequent conviction, a period of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years.
All right. All right.
So you see that on the first conviction, you are aware that you breached the order, but a second time you see the fines going up and the imprisonment. That means you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
they keep raising the bar higher as you go
All right.
in relation to the convictions.
All right. Anything further in terms of the penalties? Or basically that's it?
That's it for
That's
the
it.
penalties.
Let's entertain our caller. Caller, good morning, welcome. Good morning to you, caller, welcome.
Good morning to you, sir.
And go ahead with your contribution, please.
Yeah, I have 2 young boys that are giving me major problem. I have already make restraining order on them, and they're still coming back. What else?
All right, caller. I guess the officers heard what the caller had said.
So if I understand, he has 2 sons.
2 sons, yes.
And you have a protection order against them. But it all depends on the terms of the protection order. Are they supposed to be in the house?
Well, he didn't say that. He just
Didn't
wanted to know
say.
what he didn't
But
say.
it's good for the applicant to know the terms of the protection order, understand the terms of the order, not to commit any act of domestic violence, not to enter the shared house. So that are some of the conditions that
So
could be
they're
laid
technically breaching the order now.
in the order. But if that they're not supposed to be in the house and they come in there, that's a clear-cut breach of protection order. And what he needs to do, he needs to report that urgently to the police so they could take a statement from him
Yes.
and arrest the 2 boys, his sons.
Okay. Let's take another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Morning and welcome to your guest and you too. I think at the lobby with GBN, And when you're having guests, provided they had the time to spend at least an hour and a half or 2 hours, because so much questions, so much answers. However, in the initial stage of the program, I would mention if somebody make a complaint, a husband make a complaint against a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and an order is placed on a party to leave the house. Why is it the one that leaving the house still have, she might be in fault, will have to be paying the rent for the person occupying the house still? I think it's Daiwa. That's one. Now, I heard this talk about rape and this and that. A husband could rape his wife after they went to the courthouse or the church or wherever and get married. And in the Bible or wherever they quote it from, they get married, they have to stick together for better or for worse. So I'm hypothetically speaking, I don't understand. When all these laws come in now, when a husband and a wife have how to put it, that domestic issue, an issue like he have feeling one night and she have, he take it a little further. I'm just saying, what they make an oath on, where they went to the church or the courthouse or wherever they went and get married, I would just like a little clarity on some of these issues. Thanks.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution there. 435-2041. Any response to the caller?
Yes, well, if I must say that the police operate with the laws that governs the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, right? And we may not be able to see why a wife or a husband has to leave their home in terms of whatever that condition or circumstances may be going through, but work with what the evidence and work with the information that we have. What we work with is that if we have domestic violence taking place in that home, we have to look at the safety of the applicant and whoever else might be in that home, right? And that is what we will do, right? In terms of if we think that, or the magistrate see it fit for whether it be man or woman to leave for the safety of the other occupants in the house, then that will happen.
All right. And he did mention also in terms of the issue of rent and stuff.
And whatnot. That is maybe one of the conditions that the magistrate might see fit to put in place, because there are situations where the female might not be working and she has the children and may have to relocate. So in relocation she might lose her job and whatnot, and the court might say, well, she needs a place, she needs a place to put the children and herself, so they might grant that the perpetrator be the one to pay the rent.
And if I may come in here as well, this is not always the case. It's just this comes in with the circumstances, right? So this is not always.
I mean, if the female is employed and she can manage herself, it goes.
Also, a male can also be an applicant for a protection order.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we dealt with men in the past, very few, but we have dealt with men in the past who took the boldness to go and get a protection order out against the spouse or whoever in the home. So we don't want to stereotype it and say woman or the applicant's woman. It's broad. It goes both ways. Male, female could also be an applicant. A male or female could be a respondent.
All right. The caller also did mention in terms of, a wife reporting that she's been raped. I mean, how is that foreseen?
Rape is a criminal offense in the state of
Once it's been reported,
once it's been reported, an investigation
matter
is
if you're married or not, it's an offense.
Rape is an offense.
I guess that just for clarification for the caller, he did say, how that could happen. That's what he was saying.
So the caller asked if a husband could rape his wife, and the answer is yes.
I guess once no consent is given, it's wrong.
Yes.
All right. I have one more question. Who can report domestic violence? Who can actually report domestic violence?
Anyone can report domestic violence. Anyone can report a domestic violence.
A stranger.
So you may notice something is happening in a house.
In the household, a neighbor, a spouse, a child, a dependent. As I said, we said the word dependent, but maybe a lot of people don't know who is a dependent, so let me just go through the definition.
Go right ahead.
A dependent is someone of the age of 18 or above, due to maybe mental or physical disability, relies on the applicant or the respondent for their care.
All right.
So sometimes you might have an elderly grandmother who lives with her son and wife, but she may be a victim of domestic violence also, or a disabled child whose sole responsibility of care is either the respondent or the applicant.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And then once you notice that is happening, you can actually report it.
Definitely.
Yes.
Report it. All right. We do for a break. Let's take it. Our final break for the program for today. When we come back, the phone lines will be open once again, 435-2041. If you do have a question or two, you can certainly ask the officers. We're coming right back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point.
The biggest party in sport is back. CPL and WCPL return with more action than ever before.
Are you kidding me?
Watch the biggest names in cricket battle it out in the race for glory.
Brilliantly. Celebrate some more.
Get your tickets now at cplt20.com or at the box office. Join the party. Experience cricket played louder.
Grenada's broadcast of Republic Bank CPL 2023 is made possible by Republic Bank. We're the one for you. The National Lotteries Authority, Grand Lake, and Hard On Plus.
I want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, To The Point for today, Thursday, the 24th of August. And we're talking to the Special Victim Unit this morning from the Royal Grenada Police Force, and we're talking domestic violence. We do have a caller. Let's entertain this call, and then we come back with more of our questions. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. No, I've been troubled about this case and what I've been troubled about concerning this case time after time. No, measures are laid down. Laws are laid down for these policies. But when it comes to implementation, you usually don't see implementation happen in its right time. And the lengthening of the time, sometimes the folks get terrible abuse, that their body get some kind of form of decree, let me use that kind of word, and before they could step in. They need to implement these measures at an earliest opportunity when people go and make these complaints. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. I understand what the caller is saying, but it's also left up to the victim, more or less.
Definitely.
It's left up to the victim.
In terms of reporting. Reporting that matter to the police, and we ask persons to come, well, as Ms. Francis said, whether it's male, whether it's female, come to the police and report that. And once that person's come to the Special Victims Unit or go to any police station, trial and state, there are duties of the police officer. The police officer cannot refuse them. Or we won't say, all right, well, you have to come back tomorrow, please the Lord.
Oh, I don't want to get involved.
Right, I don't want to get involved in man and woman business or so on, right? So if I may just touch on the duties of a police officer or police officers as it relates to protection order and breaching that protection order, right? It says here, police officer shall respond to every complaint or report alleging domestic violence, whether or not the person making the complaint or the report is the victim.
All right.
right? So whether he's victim or not the victim, it is the duty of the police to respond to each and every call that we receive of a domestic violence.
So whether it's not the victim or making the complaint, but someone calls and said, I know GT's beating his wife, you need to go and look into the matter.
Exactly, get the point. And then it says here that we go to breach again. Upon the report of a breach of a protection order to a police officer by a person or victim, the police officer shall inform the person or victim of the rights to lodge a concurrent complaint against the respondent if a criminal offense appears to have been committed against the person, the victim, or child.
All right. I mean that is kind of self-explanatory.
Definitely.
It explains it to the max. So I guess, I mean, with our conversation this morning, I think we've been very clear in terms of what we mentioned, and I certainly hope folks who are going through these issues in their lives, especially domestic violence, report it.
Definitely.
One individual going through that is not a good thing at all to hear about. It's not so good. Let's entertain this caller before we get our closing comments this morning. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, sir. I want to find out this thing. The police said that.
Caller, you have been distracted a wee bit by your radio or television. Would you mind lowering it, please, before you continue?
Right.
Caller, get your radio or television lowered, and then you probably could come back. And because you've been distracted by it, and of course it's causing him to not understand, thinking that I'm talking to him when I'm not been speaking to him at the same time. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yeah, same caller just now. Sorry for that. I was trying to lower it, but instead of lowering it, I put it. I know how old people does be. What go on is that I want to find out. The officer been saying anything like violence, anytime anybody call, the police should respond. Let's suppose it is in a neighborhood, and these people always fighting, and like they want to kill one another, and it happened that a neighbor called, and while trying to deliver the information to the police asked him if it's in your home or if it's in the neighborhood. Would he address this problem? Would he investigate?
Trying to understand what they call it. You think you understand? All right, caller, thank you.
He's saying that, let's say the neighbors are having a domestic dispute. That's what I perceive.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that's calling. Would the police ask him, is it you that is the victim? And if he said no, if they're going to respond either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's trying to say. I could have it wrong. But you must be the victim to report domestic violence. What we value is the information you give us. You might know the person's name in the household.
Yes.
If they had children, who actually is being abused, was any weapon used or whatnot. So we gather as much information as we can. You don't have to be in the household to be reporting domestic violence. It could just be a neighbor or somebody who suspects or sees it happening, and the police takes the relevant information, try to locate the persons in the home and attend to the report.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for taking my call. Now, I am in a serious position. I am in a situation here where since 2014, or probably even before that, I've been disturbed by an individual. And it doesn't seem as if he's going to stop. I don't know him. This problem went before the magistrate, and that court, what they call it, order was served on him for 2 years. Then I had to go back, and because he violated, and it was served again for another 1 year. The guy keeps violating the situation. I mean, I can tell you, as recent as June of this year and July of this year, June 1st, June 7th, July 11th, and this guy is still threatening to mash me up. I mean, I don't want to use the obscene language, but that's what he's been using. Oh, F you up, I'm going to chop you up, I'm going to finish you off, I'm going to do this, I'm going to mash you up, use that jackass, and it's constantly going. On the 11th of July, however, I went to the station and I made a report. And I am hoping that this matter will go before the court one more time. I don't know. I have a problem probably with the police, or I don't know. Because whether maybe it seems as if himself and the police are friends, and so he just takes the privilege to carry on with it. I don't know, I'm in a situation, and I am only hoping, I'm not going to disclose names or whatnot, but I'm only hoping that the relevant people listening to this program realize, because on the 11th of July, as I said, I went to this police station, I made a report, requesting again that this matter, this guy is report. I haven't heard anything from them from then till today, as yet. So I don't know, I don't want to criticize and condemn, but I know definitely that on the day, let me tell you, on the 5th of January 2018, when this guy put a cutlass right up against my nose and threatened, I went to the station. And as the officer is saying, well, he should be arrested and whatnot, etc. And even the magistrate had questioned that, why was he arrested? And I don't think so. So this is why I'm saying, I don't want to be bashing police officers or as it may be, but as one caller has said it, implementation. And I think that maybe this guy is in a situation where he should be arrested and charged.
I guess we would call her dropped out on us there. And I'm not sure how you could respond to the caller. We are been due for time also.
First of all, is it a protection order that was granted or a bond?
Well,
because
that's
from
what we're not sure of.
What he said, it seems to me that maybe it's a bond that the court grant against the individual to stay away from him or not to have any interactions with him.
Okay.
But then again, once the gentleman is breaching or he just doing what, continuing committing offense, he goes back to the police station, report the matter, the gentleman should be arrested and charged, and the matter should be taken to court. But as Ms. Francis said, I gathered that he's speaking more of a bond than a protection order.
Okay. So maybe you should get a protection order. Or maybe you should have gotten.
Remember, protection order is of domestic. Right, so brother against brother, brother against sister. Uncle. So you can have a protection order, friend against a friend, right? To just
he said that the person he don't really know much about the guy. That means they don't have no kind of close
relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, officers. Of course, any closing comments before we wrap this morning?
Francis.
Well, we like to urge the general public to educate yourself on the Domestic Violence Act. You could simply go and to the laws of Grenada, type in the Domestic Violence Act, and you'll get all the information in relation to it. A lot of persons are ignorant as to the act, but be in the know. If you don't know, you visit your nearest police station, and you could come to us for guidance as to what assistance or what help or what can be done in relation to you being a victim of domestic violence. We like to urge persons to report it, not because you say it's your neighbor and you're minding your business or whatnot. You could maybe save a life. You could also stop further breach of the law. You could also save a family member from death, because there are instances where domestic violence could cause death. Yes.
Right. What do you think?
Yes, I side with my colleague here, but I want to reach out to the men this morning and ask these men to come forward and report, because their life matters. There was a saying there is a saying, Black Lives Matter. Men lives matters as well, and I can boast of the confidentiality of the Special Victims Unit. We see each and every complaint as serious and with utmost confidence, and you can come to us. Again, the hotline number is 400, landline 440-4739, and I end by saying, if you want to be a hero, just call. 400.
All right. Well, to thank both of you this morning once again for coming and sharing information. It was definitely fruitful information. I certainly hope individuals listening, going through issues of the nature which we spoke about this morning, will definitely come out and report it and get some peace in your life for some reason or the other.
Definitely.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for today's program. We went over a couple of minutes, but I guess that's understandable. Until tomorrow, have yourself a good one, folks. That's what we say goodbye for today's edition. Be good to yourself and others. Goodbye.